Are you planning a cruise vacation in 2026? Then you need to watch this video until the very end. Because over the next 12 months, 6 major changes are coming to the cruise industry, and most of them are not in your favor. If this is your first time here, I share insider cruise tips that can save you money and frustration. Hit that subscribe button and join thousands of travelers who want to cruise smarter, not harder. Now let me tell you something that most passengers do not realize until they are already on board. The cruise industry is quietly rewriting the rules of the game. These changes are buried in fine print, announced in corporate press releases that nobody reads, and implemented so gradually that by the time you notice, it is already too late. Some of these will hit your wallet directly. Others will change habits you have built over years of cruising. And a few might make you reconsider which cruise line deserves your loyalty. I have watched this unfold across different ships and different companies. The patterns are clear. What was once included is becoming extra. What was once unlimited is becoming restricted. And what was once simple is becoming complicated. So let me walk you through each of these changes, explain why they matter, and most importantly, show you how to protect yourself. The first major change involves something that defined an entire cruise line brand. Virgin Voyages built its reputation on one revolutionary promise: no tipping required. For years, this was their biggest selling point. You paid your fare, you got on the ship, and you never had to think about gratuities again. No awkward calculations, no envelopes, no daily charges appearing on your account. It was refreshing, it was simple, and it attracted thousands of passengers who were tired of the traditional tipping culture on cruise ships. Starting in October 2025 and continuing into 2026, that promise is changing. Gratuities will now appear as a separate line item when you book. Virgin says the total cost remains the same, just displayed differently. But here is what that actually means in practice. You will see a base fare that looks lower, then gratuities added on top at $20 per person per night if you prepay, or $22 if you pay on board. For a 7-night cruise with 2 passengers, that is $280 in gratuities alone. Now, Virgin insists this is about transparency, not additional cost. And technically, they are correct. The total price has not increased. But psychologically, something has shifted. The cruise line that promised to eliminate tipping has now made tipping visible, unavoidable, and technically removable if you visit guest services. That last part is what concerns many loyal passengers. Once gratuities are a separate line item, some guests will try to reduce or remove them, which could eventually affect crew compensation. The deeper issue is what this signals about the industry. If the one cruise line that staked its identity on eliminating tips has backed away from that position, what does that say about where cruising is headed? It suggests that the all-inclusive dream is slowly eroding, replaced by a model where everything is itemized, everything is optional, and nothing feels quite as carefree as it used to. The second change hits one of the most beloved perks in cruising: the drink package at private islands. Norwegian Cruise Line announced that starting March 1st, 2026, your onboard beverage package will no longer work at Great Stirrup Cay, their private island destination in the Bahamas. Let me make sure you understand what this means. You could pay over $200 for an unlimited drink package on your cruise. You could use it freely on the ship for an entire week. But the moment you step onto the cruise line's own private island, that package becomes worthless. If you want a drink at Great Stirrup Cay, you will need to either pay individually or purchase a separate island-specific drink package. Passengers are already furious. Social media is filled with comments about filling Stanley Cups before disembarking, about feeling nickel and dimed at every turn, about reconsidering their loyalty to the cruise line entirely. NCL says this change aligns their private island operations with standard industry practices. And they are not entirely wrong. Some cruise lines have always charged separately at their private destinations, but Norwegian built Great Stirrup Cay as an extension of the cruise experience, not a separate venue. Changing the rules now, after passengers have already booked based on certain expectations, feels like a bait and switch to many loyal cruisers. The practical impact is significant. A family of 4 who assumed their drink packages covered the entire vacation will now face unexpected costs at the island. Budget-conscious travelers who carefully calculated whether the drink package made financial sense will need to redo that math entirely. And the carefree atmosphere of a private island day, where you could grab a cocktail without thinking about your bill, is now replaced by the same transactional feeling you get at any resort. The third change transforms something that used to feel unlimited: the main dining room. Norwegian Cruise Line will now charge $5 for every extra entree after the first two. On the surface, this might seem reasonable. After all, how many entrees does one person need? But this misses the point entirely. Part of the cruise dining experience has always been the freedom to explore. You could try the lobster and the steak. You could sample 3 desserts without judgment. You could order something adventurous, knowing that if you did not like it, another option was just a request away. That freedom is what separated cruise dining from restaurants on land. Now there is a calculation involved. Do I really want to try that third option, or is it worth $5? That mental arithmetic changes the entire experience. It introduces hesitation where there used to be abundance. It makes guests feel watched, measured, judged for their appetites. NCL frames this as a food waste reduction initiative. And yes, some passengers do order more than they can eat. But the solution punishes everyone, including those who would have eaten everything on their plates. It assumes bad intent rather than celebrating abundance. And $5 per extra entree can add up quickly over a 7-night cruise, especially for families or groups who enjoy sharing and sampling. Royal Caribbean and Princess have implemented similar policies for premium items like lobster tail, charging around $20 for extras. The trend is clear. Dining room freedom is becoming dining room restriction, one surcharge at a time. The fourth change affects something many passengers consider essential: room service. Norwegian has quietly revised their room service policy in ways that make it significantly less convenient. Guests can now order only 1 hot item and 1 cold item per person for breakfast delivery, and a maximum of 2 items per person from the all-day menu. The delivery fees remain the same: $4.95 for breakfast, $9.95 for the all-day menu. But you are paying the same amount for fewer items. If you want more than the 2-item cap, you will need to place a second delivery and pay another fee. For a couple who used to enjoy a leisurely room service breakfast with variety, the cost has effectively doubled if they want the same selection. What counts as a hot or cold item remains confusingly vague. Does coffee count? What about toast? The policy creates uncertainty where there used to be simplicity. And the irony is that passengers are paying the same delivery fee for a diminished service. Room service used to feel like a small luxury, a moment of indulgence where you could enjoy breakfast in your pajamas while watching the ocean from your balcony. Now it feels like a transaction with fine print, a service where you need to carefully plan your order to avoid unexpected charges. That shift from luxury to logistics is happening across the industry, and room service is just one example. The fifth change affects anyone planning a European cruise in 2026. The European Travel Information and Authorization System, known as ETIAS, is expected to launch in the fourth quarter of 2026. This is a new electronic authorization that will be required for travelers from visa-exempt countries, including the United States, Canada, Australia, and dozens of others, before entering most European countries. If you are planning a Mediterranean cruise, a Baltic itinerary, or any voyage that touches European ports, you will need to complete an ETIAS application before you travel. The process is similar to the American ESTA system or the UK ETA. You apply online, provide biometric and travel information, pay a €7 fee, and wait for approval. Most applications will be processed within hours, but some may take up to 96 hours. Here is why this matters for cruise passengers specifically. Your cruise line will be responsible for verifying that you have a valid ETIAS before allowing you to board. If you arrive at the port without proper authorization, you could be denied boarding entirely. There are no exceptions, no last-minute fixes at the terminal, no appeals process that will get you on that ship. The ETIAS authorization is valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. So if you plan multiple European cruises over several years, you only need to apply once. But that first application must happen before your first sailing, And planning ahead is essential because the system has already been delayed multiple times. It was originally scheduled for 2021, then 2022, then 2023, then 2024, then 2025. The current projection is late 2026, but further delays remain possible. The practical advice is simple. If you are booking a European cruise for 2026 or beyond, monitor the ETIAS launch date closely. Apply as soon as the system becomes available. Do not wait until the last minute, because any complications with your application could jeopardize your entire vacation. And remember that the UK requires a separate authorization called the ETA, so if your cruise includes British ports, you may need both systems. The sixth change involves loyalty programs, specifically Carnival's controversial overhaul of their VIFP system. In September 2026, Carnival Rewards will officially replace the VIFP club that many cruisers have spent years building status within. The new program uses a points-based system called STARS instead of the cruise credit system that loyal passengers have grown accustomed to. The reaction has been overwhelmingly negative. Many cruisers feel that the new structure devalues years of loyalty. The benefits at each tier are changing, the thresholds are different, and the sense of recognition that came with VIFP status feels diminished. Carnival has made some adjustments after initial backlash, including promises that Diamond members as of August 31, 2026, will maintain that status permanently, and Platinum members will receive bonus stars every 2 years. But for many passengers, the changes do not go far enough. They feel that a loyalty program should reward loyalty, not restructure in ways that benefit the company more than the customer. And the timing, after years of building status through dozens of cruises, feels particularly painful. The broader lesson here extends beyond Carnival. Cruise line loyalty programs are not guaranteed. The benefits you earn today may not exist tomorrow. The status you spend years achieving can be restructured, renamed, or devalued at any time. This does not mean loyalty programs are worthless, but it does mean you should not choose a cruise line solely based on status benefits that could change before your next sailing. So what can you do to protect yourself from these changes? The first step is awareness. Reading the fine print before you book has never been more important. Check what is actually included in your fare, what costs extra, and what policies might change before your sailing date. The days of assuming that cruise fares cover everything are over. Second, budget for the unexpected. Build a cushion into your cruise budget for additional charges because they are almost certainly coming. Whether it is drinks at a private island, extra entrees, room service fees, or gratuities that used to be included, the all-in cost of cruising is rising faster than the advertised fares suggest. Third, consider your loyalty carefully. If you have been loyal to one cruise line for years, ask yourself whether that loyalty is being reciprocated. Compare the current benefits against what other lines offer. Sometimes starting fresh with a competitor makes more financial sense than chasing status that keeps getting harder to maintain. Fourth, plan European cruises well in advance. If ETIAS is required for your itinerary, get your authorization early. Do not let a bureaucratic delay derail a vacation you have been planning for months. And remember that entry requirements for cruise passengers are becoming more complex, not simpler. The cruise industry is changing. That is not necessarily good or bad. It simply is. But passengers who understand these changes, who prepare for them, who adjust their expectations and budgets accordingly, will have better experiences than those who are caught off guard. There is also a silver lining worth mentioning. Competition among cruise lines remains fierce, and that competition sometimes works in your favor. When one company raises fees or restricts benefits, others may hold steady or even improve their offerings to attract frustrated passengers. Pay attention to promotional offers, last-minute deals, and loyalty match programs that let you transfer status from one line to another. Some experienced cruisers are also finding creative ways to adapt. They bring their own snacks for sea days to offset reduced room service. They choose itineraries that minimize time at private islands where drink packages do not apply. They book during promotional periods when gratuities are prepaid at lower rates. These small adjustments cannot eliminate the impact of industry changes, but they can soften the blow. The fundamental appeal of cruising remains intact. You still get to visit multiple destinations without unpacking repeatedly. You still enjoy entertainment, dining, and activities that would cost far more on land. You still wake up to new horizons outside your window. The experience is evolving, but it has not disappeared. I want to hear from you. Which of these changes concerns you most? Have you already been affected by new policies on your recent cruises? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your insights help other travelers prepare for what is coming. If this video helped you understand what to expect in 2026, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want more cruise tips that cut through the marketing and tell you what is really happening on these ships. I will see you in the next video. Until then, smooth sailing and smart planning.